felt like as a millennial woman, I was experimented on without my consent.
Where has pharma just infiltrated every single part of our life in this country?
American children are suffering. That is a national security crisis. That's terrifying.
We're fighting for all your health. All Americans deserve a better chance of health and life.
The food was hijacked to keep and make you sick and fat. Michelle Obama really has a lot to answer for. This was just never a conservative issue to talk about like what you should or shouldn't eat. This one issue, the left was right.
Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Biohack-it. We've had to redo this show, and thank God my friend Alex is in town. She's in Miami, actually. We shot an incredible episode for you guys. It was a 2-hour-long show, and the last studio we recorded it lost the episode, so we're back. We're going to do it all over again. Thank you for being in Miami.
Thank you. You know, it makes it easy because we're already friends. So to be like, we got to redo this, it's like, that's painless. Like, to do it with you, it's fine. Like, anyone else, I probably would have been like, no.
So we're going to first start with taking a shot together. You've never taken this PC Direct, have you?
So I take the PC every single morning, but what I do is I mix it in my strawberry beauty smoothie, I call it, which has gotten, it's a very controversial smoothie.
Why?
Fox News reported on it. This is like the biggest thing.
What's in this smoothie?
It's like a viral smoothie recipe. What's not in the smoothie? That's the thing. It's like, it is 40 grams of protein, basically every single like beauty elixir thing that you could ever imagine. Agent Couture, collagen powder, holy mane. I've got the PC body bio in there. So I have all these different things, and I'm like, this is like the most expensive smoothie. Like, it puts Air One to shame, but it is the ultimate beauty smoothie.
Is it yummy?
It's delicious. I mean, it just tastes like an amazing strawberry smoothie, and I do cherries, pineapples, peaches, and strawberries as well, frozen fruit.
Wow.
An avocado, and then some strawberry protein powder. Yeah. It's incredible. And so Fox News reported on it, and it was so controversial. All the boomers were like, this is outrageous, like how much this is. And I said, listen, this is not for the weak. This is if you really want to go crazy, do this. But I did include that in there. So it's always mixed in with stuff, so I don't ever really taste it. I mean, it kind of has a sweet taste like honey, I guess.
Yeah.
And it kind of thickens up my smoothie a little bit, which I like, but I don't know what it tastes like on its own.
Well, we're going to find out now.
Okay.
So I'm going to...
So tell us again, because I always forget when people ask me like what this does. What is so special about this?
So phosphatidylcholine, let me explain it like this. You have your cells, and the outside layer of your cells, essentially the membrane, is made of phospholipids, right? So over time, your cell membrane should be this beautiful, gooey, gushy little layer. But over time, with environmental toxins, our food, environment, the water we're drinking, it's basically eroded our cell membrane. Now, if your cells are not healthy, you're not a healthy person, right? So you can eat all the regenerative stuff, you can drink the raw dairy, you can have your vitamin D, but if your cells cannot remove toxins from them and heavy metals and keep the good stuff in and keep the bad stuff out, then you can't have good baseline health. So phosphatidylcholine is all these different phospholipids that replace and replenish and fortify the cell membrane, which is why it's crucial. Like, when you talk about everyday stuff everybody should be on, it's PC.
Oh, it says, and Gwyneth Paltrow likes it too.
It's her favorite supplement.
Now, I'm not going to lie. It looks like the aftermath of a colonic when
But
it's just floating in the water.
This is how we served it at Goop. So when we were at Goop and Health this year, Gwyneth came by, and this is how we offered it to everybody.
Oh, okay. Well,
so
if
cheers.
Gwyneth does it, I have to do it.
Yeah. Okay, so cheers.
Okay, cheers.
Let's see what you think.
That wasn't a bad cough.
That wasn't bad. I didn't have enough water in mine. Hold on.
A big gulp of water. No,
I don't mind
you don't
the
taste
taste.
it. I didn't taste it at all. I just tasted water.
Okay, so there
but it
you
was
go.
a lot of water. So one thing about me, I can't chug. I was like the one girl like sneaking into college parties that like couldn't chug a drink. So that was like actually very impressive for me. I've never taken like a drink that big.
So no, it doesn't taste
No,
anything.
I didn't taste anything. It just tasted
great.
like water.
And by the way, they manufacture everything. They have their own facility. Like, that's how advanced this company is. They've been around in business for 30 years. I mean, I love them. I'm just biased, but they're the real deal. So, okay, we got a shot out of the way.
Love it.
There we go.
I seriously, everything I've tried from Body Bio, I've really liked. You're the one that got me onto it.
I promise you will see such a change in your health. And for anybody listening, if you have a family member suffering from autism or helps reverse it, Alzheimer's has links and correlation to show that it can help slow that down. So there's a lot of great research behind this brand and who they're and what they're doing. And I'm really excited. They're going into clinical trials as well.
Wow.
This company is going places. But I'm excited to talk to you and discuss all things Alex Clark. So tell us a little bit. We know we discussed this last time, but give us a little bit about your background and how Culture Apothecary came to be.
Wow. Okay. So, so if you aren't familiar with me, I host one of the top 10 biggest health and wellness podcast, which is very ironic because anyone who has known me longer than like 2 years knows that I have always been the most unhealthy, ultra-processed food addicted girl on earth. I have always been thin, but I always joked like my insides were probably rotting away like tar because of how I ate and was just... I thought that like organic food was a scam. I had no idea what a GMO was. Lived off goldfish crackers. High school, it was very normal for me during lunch to just get like 6 Rice Krispie treats and a fruit punch, and that was my lunch. And I mean, I ate like that for years.
Right.
Was on hormonal birth control for almost 10 years. Just, you know, antibiotics all the time, flu shots every single fall like clockwork since I was a kid because I just thought I thought that's what good people did. I had no idea. Thought that it was loony, people that said that they didn't vaccinate their children. I thought, oh my gosh, these people are nut jobs. I thought that was like which it was, and we can talk about this, but I was like, that's a nut job liberal celebrity thing to do.
Right.
To not vaccinate your kids. So that was my interpretation as somebody who's always been a lifelong conservative. Then 2020 rolls around, you know, the pandemic, and when they mandated that we all get the COVID vaccine, I felt deeply unsettled in my spirit. Like there's something evil about telling people you have to inject something in order to participate in public life, to go places or see things or, you know, hang out with your friends and family. I thought that there was something deeply wrong about that and unsettling. And I had kind of an inkling that I needed to look into pharmaceutical companies and things and like controversies. And so I started hearing the term big pharma. I had never paid attention to what big pharma was until 2020. Started looking into that. At the same time, Dope Sick on Hulu was popular, and that kind of opened my eyes to the OxyContin scandal and the Sackler family and Purdue Pharma. And I thought, if the FDA could have let something as catastrophic as basically the entire opioid epidemic stem from, you know, approving this drug that they knew had stuff wrong with it, then who's to say that they didn't make another mistake? Right. And that kind of led me then to big food and looking into big food and how, you know, a handful of companies kind of control everything there and there's so much corruption there. And so it all just kind of fed into one another. And I just started, I didn't even know how to cook. I started cooking for the first time. And actually, this is not a plug. They're not a sponsor, and I wouldn't even recommend them because they're not as clean as I think we should be eating. But because I had no idea how to cook, I didn't know any better. I just wanted something easy, so I started doing Home Chef because they had like pictures step by step of what to do,
what to make. Yeah.
And as somebody who didn't know how to follow a recipe, I thought that was helpful to have a picture to know I was doing it right. So I started with Home Chef and started learning. But you know, their stuff is not organic. It's filled with seed oils. Like I wouldn't use them now. But that kind of was my gateway to like understanding cooking for myself. And then I was able to graduate to other recipes that didn't have pictures and learning more about my food, where it comes from, you know, why is organic food important? What are regenerative farms? Like I just started going down all of these avenues. And as somebody who grew up conservative, this was just never a conservative issue. Nobody in the Republican Party, nobody that identified as conservative gave a rat's ass about
this stuff.
Food. In fact, we were always told that this was an infringement on freedom to talk about like what you should or shouldn't eat. And that was a very exclusive like Democrat thing to say like you should or shouldn't drink soda and things like that. But actually, I began to realize, okay, and I'll never say this again, but this one issue, the left was right. There's something, you know, the crunchy liberal granola hippie Democrats, those like liberal Hollywood celebrities that were drinking their green juices and not vaccinating their kids back in the day, they were onto something. And then all of the sudden, the narrative changed during the pandemic, that it was conservatives. We were questioning it. And so therefore, this was a radical extremist thing to do. And I'm like, now, wait a minute. For years, because I have worked since I was 18 in pop radio. That's where my background is covering pop culture. I know that it was the liberal celebrities who cared about all these things. So don't try to all of a sudden gaslight us and tell us that, oh, this is a conservative right-winger thing, because it isn't. I felt like I was on my own island. I was sharing what I was learning, and my audience, who's the same age as me, 25 to 35, were going, hold on a minute. I've never heard this before either. So it was like, I was hearing it, sharing it with them, to this whole group of people Christians, conservatives who had no interest in food or pharma until the pandemic, because we were all feeling the same thing. How dare the government tell us that you were basically, putting pressure on companies or in industries that if you don't get a certain shot, you're going to lose everything. I had a former coworker who ended up leaving the radio station that I had worked at because she was breastfeeding, pregnant, and they were telling her, if you don't get this vaccine, you're going to lose your job. And she's like, well, I'm not going to risk what this could end up doing to my baby. So she ended up losing her job. I mean, they tried to tell you that you had a choice, right? Well, she had a choice. She could have gotten it and then kept her job.
There wasn't a choice.
That's not
that was
choice.
a lie.
Yeah. So that pressure was deeply evil. And so I started sharing about it, and my audience couldn't get enough of it. And so I basically ended up I had a podcast before, but I was kind of just doing a hodgepodge of countercultural interviews talking about a myriad of different things: true crime, pop culture, parenting, health, and some health. Yeah. But I started to exclusively focus on the health and wellness and interviewing the experts, because I'm not an expert.
Yeah.
I just literally saw the light 2 years ago, okay? So I don't know anything. But I was interviewing the experts and learning, and my audience was learning and is learning at the same time. And so it's kind of this beautiful thing of we're going on this journey together. There is nothing that says freedom and conservatism like sticking a huge painted middle finger to pharma and food, because if they can control all of those things that are going into your body, that's controlling how you think and how you feel, and I believe how you could even vote when you're under that cloud of brain fog and sickness.
If you're serious about your long-term health, there's one vitamin you're probably not getting enough of. No matter how clean your diet is, nearly 97% of people in the Western world are deficient in vitamin K2, and most don't even realize it. That's why K2 is nearly non-existent in modern diets, but it plays a huge role in heart health, circulation, bone strength, and even brain function. So here's why it matters so much. Low K2 levels can show up as weak bones, stiff muscle, bruising, wrinkles, and even forgetfulness and brain fog. It also is linked to major cardiovascular and bone health issues down the line. That's why I'm so excited about Just Thrive's K27, the only K2 supplement on the market that comes from 100% organic chickpea natto, the best source of K2. Delivers 320 mcg of pharmaceutical grade K27, the optimal daily dose. Has guaranteed potency so your body actually absorbs what it needs. It's microbiologist formulated, clinically tested, and supports your heart, bones, brain, and circulation at the source. I've made it a part of my daily routine, and I think you'll love it too. Check it out at justthrivehealth.com and use code Biohack-it for a discount and enjoy. So on that note, one of the things that I've realized is a lot of people who were liberals, these crunchy liberals, are now the Republicans of today because they moved over with Bobby Kennedy. This MAHA movement was started by a lot of liberals originally. And when MAHA kind of joined MAGA is when this evolution started coming up and everything changed. So a lot of people, and I mean, a lot of the food influencers we're friends with that we're really close to were once upon a time liberals. A lot of the doctors we're friends with, I'm not going to take their names, but they were liberals. And they were so deadly against everything that happened in 2020 and what they're seeing with patients in clinic, research coming back, and they're like, there's something deeply wrong here. So I think the Republican Party, and Bobby Kennedy says this, right? He's just like, this is not the Democratic Party of my uncle. Right? That is now the Republican Party. So I think there's been an inversion in America. There's been a switch over, and people are waking up to things. And the ones screaming from the rooftops about this stuff is actually the Republicans. But there's a background of where this came from, right?
Well, yeah, totally. And I have always given credit where credit is due. When part of this journey, I also had my eyes open to birth control, which I said I was on for almost 10 years. I had no idea, the lack of an informed consent I was given about that pill. I had no idea that my likelihood of developing an autoimmune disease, which I did, by the way, would go up 230-something% if I was on it for that period of time. Nobody told me that in my 10-minute wellness checkup at 14 years old. So I was pissed off because I felt like as a millennial woman, I was experimented on without my consent. Why didn't anybody tell me that the food pyramid was fake? Why didn't anybody talk to us about GMOs when those were introduced to our food supply? Why didn't anybody talk to us about hormonal birth control? And now what's weird is that our generation as millennials are struggling to get pregnant, and then what is conveniently being sold? Oh, well, we have IVF. But it was like, But wait a minute, why didn't you tell me about some of this stuff like 10 years earlier? And it almost seems to me like a pharmaceutical treadmill that was started on, and they pressed go on purpose to kind of lead us here. Like an entire life spent with like pharmaceutical interventions. And then, you know, of course, the vaccine schedule exploding for my generation. And now it's just gotten even worse. So all of these things I felt angry when I found that out. And I thought more people should be angry. And that really is bipartisan. But the fact of the matter is that there was only one candidate in 2024 who was willing to have the conversations, you know, as far as the two main parties, and that was Trump. So this issue is nonpartisan. And so, yeah, we see this coming together of people on the left and the right. And we really, you know, as a conservative, I obviously have an interest in, well, I want to keep all of these newcomers. You know, I want to welcome them in and get them to want to stay with us. I don't want you to be a MAHA voter one time in 2024 and then you dip out, because the fact of the matter is, just like you said, the Democrat Party of you know, decades before is not the Democrat Party of today, which is what Bobby Kennedy is saying. They are the party of big pharma. They are the party of war. These are things that were just inconscionable to a Democrat voter only a few short years ago, and yet this is now what you're shilling. I mean, you've got to be kidding me. You were courting Dick Cheney during the election. Hello? I mean, that is even crazy to me as a lifelong Republican. So I think a lot of people are kind of dipping their toes into the Republican Party. And so, you know, for me, I'm like, wow, we have a lot at stake with millions of new, especially female voters who care about this issue, that we could kind of keep for the long haul, because MAGA is temporary, right? MAHA, though, can transcend MAGA.
And it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Like, this is not, I think a lot of people that aren't like deep in the coalition of MAHA, like you and I are, don't realize that MAHA isn't a trendy thing with Trump as president. Like, this coalition that we're building is going to continue after these 4 years, because no matter who is president, we have to make sure that these issues are still being tackled, that they're continuing to be looked at, that we don't give up. I mean, this is really a 12-year process to make a massive difference. Like, we're going to get a little bit of difference with these 4 years, but we have to keep it going. So this isn't going to stop after, you know, by 2028.
Which is why MAHA is doing so much with a grassroots level education. It's not just about Bobby's face anymore. This is becoming a nationwide campaign to educate people, going to homes, going to schools, like really penetrate people on the grassroots level to educate them about choice. So this is my big problem with America here right now, is we don't educate people for them to be liberated with choice. And that's what MAHA is promising to do. It's like, I'm going to your local neighborhood. I'm going into your schools. I'm going into your farmers markets. I'm going into your communities and giving you the information so you have choice in how you raise your families and what you do and what food you put on the table. Because you can be a stay-at-home mom, but if you're giving your kid processed food, then what good is that? Because that's all you know how to do. And I personally think it's a big thing to, like, when it comes to food stamps, they should bar food stamps for processed food. They should not be allowed. You should not be allowed to buy processed food with food stamps that the government's paying for.
I fully agree, and I just testified at the Arizona State Senate on this issue of getting soda off of SNAP, because SNAP is supposed to be
even on SNAP.
Well, that's the thing that doesn't make any sense, because SNAP is supposed to just be supplemented nutrition. There's nothing nutritious about soda, obviously. And so what's interesting is that the SNAP people are actually making up like the largest chunk of soda sales. So that's why they have like this initiative to be combating this. And they're sending, like, even to this little like Arizona hearing, they had representatives from, you know, Big Soda there to kind of combat what I was saying and Callie Means was saying and a bunch of other people who testified. Like, it was very bizarre. And so
I saw a clip of that and I was shocked. I was like, how can you even justify soda? Like,
they can't.
What nutritional value is there to that?
And, you know, again, people are talking about like choice or whatever. No, these are taxpayer dollars. We don't need to subsidize obesity. We don't need to subsidize type 2 diabetes. We don't need to subsidize non-alcoholic fatty liver disease in teens. We have a chronic disease crisis that we're now footing the bill for. It's taking up most of our debt as a nation. We have to do something about it. So why are we just making it worse on purpose?
One of the things I did want to bring up, because you talked about Bobby for a second, is what was your take when you saw Bobby come out and take that like little stance on the whole measles thing, right? So he said, hey, there's things you can do, but also, hey, if you want to vaccinate your kid against measles, go for it. How did that make you feel?
Well, first of all, everybody like absolutely flipped out and were pearl clutching over that article.
People really lost their mind. And it was taken a little bit out of context.
Totally.
So I want to talk about that. But also, do you think Bobby is drawing enough of a hard line?
he's drawing the line that he can draw.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what I want to talk about.
So like people don't understand, like people want the diehard Bobby people and the MAHA people. I get it. Obviously I'm the same. Like I'd love for Bobby Kennedy to get out there and be like, do you know what's going on? You know, with the 72 vaccines in your childhood schedule, like don't get any of them. But he's in a position where he has to educate people without spooking people. People are already terrified that that's exactly what he was going to do, that he was going to get in and like, you know, say we're not doing any childhood vaccines. You have to understand that the vaccine schedule is a religion to people. It is a religion. It has been purposely indoctrinated. People think we will die. Your child will like start foaming at the mouth if they don't get these vaccines. They'll keel over. You know, we will have mass, like leprosy will come back or something. I mean, just crazy stuff. So like they haven't been educated. And so for Bobby Kennedy to come out and be like, hey, here's the facts. If you are worried about measles, then like here, we're going to give you all the information. You can go get the measles vaccine if you want, which is what he said and he promised when he was talking about getting in this position was, I'm never going to take away choice. I want informed choice. So for the people that want a vaccine, great, go get it. For the people that don't, do you understand, you know, vitamin A deficiencies and how that correlates to measles outbreaks? You know, do you understand this, like giving people the information, which has never been done. No. You've never seen that be done before by people in his position. So, I mean, that already was very groundbreaking. As far as the article that made everybody poop their pants, which was like a Fox News op-ed, Fox News had a byline fake quote on there that they came up with.
And they didn't remove it, by the way.
Yeah, which was wrong, I think.
And they should have been asked to take that down.
Yes.
That's why I think media should be held accountable.
Yeah, I don't know why Bobby didn't tell them to change that or say this was our quote. It wasn't, we made this up. It wasn't a quote from Bobby, because that's what everybody got freaked out by. But the article itself, it wasn't scary to me. I think you have to kind of hold these people's hands. Like we have to slowly awaken them. You have to understand that if the vaccine worldview, which is what it is, the vaccine religion crumbles, that is like such a massive domino to fall for these people, like that they're going to start to understand that like everything they've basically ever been told and believed is not rooted in reality. And so that's how a lot of people kind of get red pilled and come over to the conservative side. But like, we don't start with it. Like usually it's not something as massive as the vaccine schedule, right? Like it's something smaller, like, I don't know, other smaller issues that you kind of start thinking. But like, if we dismantle that all at once, like all together, like people are going to lose their minds. It's going to be too scary for them. So we have to kind of walk them slowly.
And talking about like us being conservatives and things we're passionate about and why we've obviously voted this way, I do still think that there's places and times that we can still hold our party accountable. And in your opinion, they've just kind of gotten in. What are some of the things that you're saying, like, maybe I would do that differently? Maybe that isn't a stance I would have taken.
This is going to be very controversial, and this is my personal opinion, but I wouldn't, you know, I would have liked to see Trump not say we're going to fund IVF.
Okay.
So I would have liked Trump to come out and say, we're going to fund studies to figure out why do we need IVF.
Right.
Why do so many people have fertility issues? I want to look heavily, which I know MAHA is going to be tackling things like looking into PCOS, the causes of endometriosis, things like that. But I wish we could have, you know, if we're throwing money around when it comes to infertility, why can't we put that at, you know, there's other fertility treatments and more natural ways I think we could have gone with that. Right. Because as a pro-lifer, this really stems for me is that there's too much human life lost in IVF. There's a lot of ethical issues that I have with IVF. One, I think it's a Band-Aid catch-all when there's a lot of other things we can look at to heal infertility first that we're not doing because people want to make money. But two, from a pro-life perspective, more babies and lives are being lost through IVF than actually being born. Like we're actually losing more precious lives through IVF than Planned Parenthood does with abortion. A lot of people don't realize that. So there's a lot of things going on. There's also a lot of technology on the horizon kind of in the IVF family that a lot of people don't know about that we're probably about to see in the next 5 to 10 years that allows you to take skin cells from any two sexes. So it could be 2 men, 2 women. It could be really anyone. It could be a stranger off the street. It could be Brad Pitt if you're a hotel maid and you scrape some skin cells off his pillow and you can take that and you can create an embryo. There's a lot of scary ethical things with this. You can also take that and you can like make grandchildren through that and all this kind of stuff that basically like, these people don't originate from real human beings at all.
Right.
it gets into like a really scary space. So there's like even if we were to do IVF, it's like the Wild West in America. We are not doing tons of regulations that even other countries are doing when it comes to it to kind of protect innocent life and make sure things don't go haywire. So I don't like that Trump was just like, we're going to do this. I know that he just felt like that was something everybody would like and agree on. It's a really touchy subject. Most conservatives, even most conservative Christians, I would say, still don't agree with me on that. So that is I understand, fringe view.
Yeah, because I'm not doing IVF now, but I was going to do IVF, and you and me are really good friends, and we discussed this last time. So my viewpoint on IVF changed because I started correlating, and I just dove into this rabbit hole of this whole correlation between ovarian aging and women's health and longevity. And I'm now 42, and I was like, no, wait, I can do this naturally. I've educated myself so much on what helps a woman expand her, reduce ovarian aging, and how does that expand your fertility?
Yeah.
There's things like rapamycin that you can take that extends, fertility by 20% now, which is 5 years in your fertility life. Also things like you talked about PCOS. So PCOS, for anybody listening, and your OBGYN probably didn't tell you this, is a metabolic disease. You have insulin resistance. I'll bet you money, ChatGPT this shit right now, and it will tell you endometriosis is inflammation in your body. There's a direct correlation between those things, but they're not taught that. So when you go to an OBGYN, you're going to your general GP, they are not telling you this stuff.
Yeah.
So there has to be a vast majority education on how we're dealing with American health. But the healthcare system is so broken because of where the funding comes from, because 50 to 90% of research is funded by big pharma. So I don't think the next 4 years is where we're going to see the full dismantling of things. This is generational that has to come.
Oh, and and it's hard because all of us know, have a friend or even our own children. Maybe you're listening to this and your children were conceived via IVF. So it's a hard thing to wrap your mind around, or you are an IVF child and you're like, you look into it and you're like, it's just crazy how I got here. A life is precious no matter what, regardless of the conception, right? A child born via incest is still a precious human life that we cherish. A child born via rape is still precious, but we can say that we don't agree with the form of conception. The other thing going on is that you're basically seeing eugenics. So we're having people come in and say this child, they're now able to screen, they're getting to this point where they can screen now for blindness and stuff like that. And we're going to discard this embryo. We're going to discard this embryo.
Yeah.
If we're doing that, why not? Then how can you rationale? Because a human being is a human being at all stages. It's not just a human being when it's a toddler or a teenager, but not then. It's always a human being. So if we're doing that then why can't you, if your child is diagnosed blind at 7 years old, why not kill them? So you get into this weird unethical thing with all of this.
So I have a slightly different viewpoint on that, and I'll share it. This is where you and I have debated on things.
Yeah.
One, I'm not against IVF. I think it's about choice. I've decided not to do it because I want to take a different route to my fertility, and I think I can holistically get there. And that's a choice that I've made as a family and doing my own research, right? So that's a personal choice. But for example, I'm Muslim, you're Christian, right? In Islam, for us, the soul does not enter till 6 weeks. So for us, I'm thinking about it from my religious perspective. I think Jews have the same thing. For us, the soul does not enter. So as far as I'm concerned, and this will be very controversial, guys, don't kill me on this, I think it's like a science experiment in a petri dish till that point.
Yeah.
Because from my religion standpoint, and I would, don't believe in mass abortions or anything like that, but I'm saying in my religious standpoint, until that 6 weeks time has come in, until the 6 weeks time of actual conception, there's no soul there. So I almost feel like we need to have choices for people to make up their mind for things from their culture that speak to them.
Yeah.
Because America's not built on just being a Christian country. This is a multicultural country, right? And there has to be space and room for other people's cultures, them to celebrate their religion, their culture, their belief systems. And it's not about converting America. That's not why we live in America. We need to respect the rules by which we belong here, right? But there has to be space for us to have our standpoint as well. And as a Muslim, I'm like, okay, that's at 6 weeks.
Well, and I think that's fine. Yeah, personal choice based on whatever you believe. I just don't want the government. So you asked me, the reason we're talking about this is because, what has the administration done that you don't agree with?
Yes, and that's fine. And
I don't want
glad you said that.
Government funded.
Yes.
So because I don't agree with it, so I don't want my tax dollars going towards it. So it's one of those things.
Yeah.
And I think so far that would probably be my only main issue. But we're only a couple months in, first year.
People aren't talking about this enough, but I truly want to optimize your health. We need to be paying attention to EMFs. We are constantly plugged in, surrounded by wireless signals, radiation, frequencies that our bodies have never ever been able to handle at this level. Research has shown that EMFs can disrupt sleep, impact cellular function, and contribute to long-term health issues. Yet we're rarely talking about this or how to protect ourselves from this. This is why I was so excited when I first discovered Lila Quantum Tech. I met them 2 years ago at a biohacking conference in Austin and was absolutely blown away by the founder, Philip Mon. Hearing him on stage and learning about quantum energy technology completely shifted my perspective. I knew I had to try it for myself. And now, 2 years later, I'm so excited to have them partner with me on my podcast. One of my absolute favorite products, the Heal 360 capsule, which I wear on my quantum necklace every day. This isn't just any pendant. It's scientifically designed and quantumly charged to support your body's natural ability to heal, energize, and protect itself from harmful influences. People using it have reported more energy, mental clarity, better stress resilience, and relaxation, deeper sleep, and faster recovery. And that is also the feedback I got from our supper club when I gifted it to all our guests. Lila Quantum Tech is leading the way in quantum frequency healing with products designed to neutralize EMFs, enhance cellular function, and help your body operate at its best. I personally felt the difference since wearing Heal 360 capsule, and I think you'll love it too. Check it out at lilaq.com and use code Biohack-it for a discount. That is LEELAQ.com and use code Biohack-it. Happy healing. My thing was a little bit different. I don't even know if we should say this on this podcast. Maybe I should say it offline, what I think. But I do have this one bone to pick with the Conservative Party. So I'll say it and we'll see where it goes. If we are, as conservatives, saying America first, that means America first in every single aspect, right? We as a country come first. I don't necessarily agree with us funding anything overseas. Nothing.
I agree.
No, but I mean no country. I go beyond Ukraine.
No, I'm beyond Ukraine.
Okay.
I don't want to be involved in any foreign years.
Thank you very much.
Be involved in any foreign wars, point blank, period.
Yep. I don't want to fund it.
No.
Allies are allies. I think if we're going to put America first, we go first. We clean up our own shit. We clean up our home. We put our money back into our country. We put infrastructure back into this country. We don't fight other people's wars for them.
Right. Yeah.
That is my
agree
stand.
with you.
And I do get really irritated online when I see these conservative influencers and they're like leaving that part out. I was like, what happened to America first, guys?
Yeah.
What happened?
No, I feel the same way.
So for me, I think that for me has been a little bit of a pill to swallow because I was like, I voted for this, but I voted for you literally to put our people first and make sure our country comes first and we don't get dragged into your mess overseas or your issues overseas because we're not going to do it.
Yeah, and there's no such thing as a perfect administration, Democrat or Republican. Like always, like there's going to be candidates are people. They're going to be making decisions day in, day out, and they're going to make mistakes, and there's going to be things that you disagree with. You just have to go with who overall is going to do the majority of things that you want.
And that was for us, was Trump.
Yeah, and so for most of America, that was going to be Trump.
What do you think, because you've been so close to so many of the people in the administration that have kind of come in, and what do you think is going to happen? Like, what policies do you think will actually make it, and what do you think is going to fall to the wayside? Just from a gut instinct.
Well, immediately, I think they're going to change school lunch.
Okay. Which you've been working towards for a long time as well.
Yeah, that's like I heard that's one of the absolute first initiatives like this year. Like they're doing it now. And
how many states?
Well, all.
All. Every single state's agreed to this.
Well, I was under the impression like they're just going to make it happen nationally. I don't know how this stuff works.
I thought it would be done by state because there are different governors to different states, but that's amazing if they're doing that. I didn't know enough about it.
I don't either. To be honest, you could be right and I could be wrong.
I don't know.
But they're working on school lunch. So I don't know how they're going to make that happen. Okay. But Michelle Obama was able to do her weird rules that didn't pan out, but like she was able to do that nationally. Yeah. So they must have some, I don't know. But they're going to be working on that baby formula. They already said. I think they're really going to yank all the pharma ads off of TV, which is what's controlling the news. So yeah, that has to be like, I think.
Why the fuck do we even advertise pharma? Like no other country in the world does it. Why do we even allow it? Exactly. Wait, it's just New. But why do we even allow it? Like where has pharma just infiltrated every single part of our life in this country, and nobody. No, they saw it coming, but they just had, didn't want to look.
It's billions of dollars a month, not even a year. Billions a month is spent on pharma ads. They are basically the only people keeping up mainstream media like cable news. That's it. So when that falls, I'm very curious what will become of news as we know it. Like, I don't even know if it will exist. Like, it might only become podcasts and on the street citizen journalists.
Well, the highest form of consumed media today is podcasts.
Yeah.
It's free.
Yeah.
We allow people to come listen to us for free. We're not charging you anything, and we're giving you incredible content and people to speak freely, right? And so that's where the world is turning towards, an independent journalism that's not bought and paid for.
Exactly. Yep.
So I'm excited about the school lunches. What else do you think is coming up?
They already said they're starting to look into baby formula.
Well, that's a big one.
They're going to be, triple, quadruple checking everything that's on the vaccine schedule. I think that's going to be happening starting this year. And I think they're going to be looking into different chemicals that are sprayed on our crops as well.
Well, Monsanto has that whole thing going on.
Yeah, they're trying to make it so they're not liable for any injuries.
And that's really messed up,
Right.
like what they're doing. What do you think about this whole thing with Bobby, the formula?
Well, the problem with baby formula is that people don't realize there's more sugar in baby formula, first of all, than in a can of Coke for an adult. And you're giving that to a perfect, precious newborn baby. They've got inflammatory industrial seed oils in baby formula, corn syrup. Why? A baby doesn't need that. American parents forever have been having to order their formula if they need it from overseas. That's a super corrupt industry. I mean, some of the stuff that you're allowing in it it's really mind-blowing. And then you wonder, we're starting children off like that. We're wrecking their gut, all the antibiotics. They're born via C-section, right? And then we're, pumping them with vaccines. Then we're fueling them with ultra-processed food. And then we wonder by 13 years old, why are they so fat and sick?
Chronic inflammation
Inflammation starting from birth in this country. And it's really actually deeply evil to set up generations like that. Anytime I speak to Gen Z, I'm like, you guys should be more pissed than anybody.
Right.
I mean, when I am public speaking and I have a crowd of people, it's usually half Gen Z, half millennial. And so I'll ask millennials, raise your hand if in school you had more than 2 morbidly obese people in your class. No hands go up. Raise your hand if when you were in, high school, you or your friends were on antidepressants. No hands go up. Raise your hand if you knew someone with autism. 2 or 3 hands. Raise your hand if you had type 2 diabetes. No hands. You ask Gen Z the same questions. Every hand goes up. And I say, now look at that. This was done to you. And I think that's an important thing too. And Michelle Obama really has a lot to answer for here, because where this gets twisted is a lot of the liberals who are struggling with the MAHA movement getting all of this Republican praise, as they're well, Michelle Obama was MAHA. She was the original person wanting to fix our school lunches and fix obesity with children. I go, maybe for 5 minutes, do you realize how infiltrated the Obama administration was by big food and big pharma? There is a reason why at first she was actually, that campaign, Let's Move, it was called something else at first. I don't remember what it was. And her focus was holding food companies accountable for poisoning our kids. But very, very, very quickly, almost instantaneously, it switched to become called Let's Move. And it was all this well, you're fat because you're not moving enough. You're
right.
fat because you're not jump roping hard enough or whatever. She totally pivoted. In fact, she embraced big food. Then she was campaigning for Subway sandwiches. Now, the reason is because the big food lobbyists came in and said, we're going to make your life hell and this administration's life hell if you do this. You're pivoting right now. Yeah. If you hold us accountable, we're going to make this, we're not going to play nice anymore. So she played ball and she just pivoted. Those poor kids grew up being told the reason you're fat is because you're not running around your cul-de-sac enough times after school. But then they're going home and they're eating Tostitos pizza rolls and they're like, well, I don't understand. I just ran 8 miles straight. Why aren't I losing weight? The food was hijacked to keep and make you sick and fat. And then we tell them you're just not moving. I mean, it's so evil. And so that was kind of always a conservative talking point. Well, you're fat because you don't have enough self-discipline. Maybe to some of that, yeah, there's a little bit of truth to that. Movement is important, but more than anything, the food is what is doing this to you. And it's more addicting than heroin, this ultra-processed food. So these people have everything rigged against them. And then when they try to look for nutrition information, it's rigged. It's rigged telling you this is healthy, this isn't. They don't realize that the food companies are buying and paying for those studies. So when I'm speaking to college students, especially Gen Z, I'm looking at them you should be more pissed than anybody. honestly, like 95% of what's been done to you wasn't your fault. And you should be going to your school, food courts or whatever, in your dean's office and saying, I pay to go to school here. I deserve better options to be healthy. Like, you need to change. And so I think that really needs to be a next step, kind of groundwork, grassroots, rise up thing that we see from college students is demanding better choices in their schools.
Why did you think that from a government perspective, people who are supposed to be taking care of us as Americans for all these years, and it goes even beyond Michelle Obama, allowed for this to happen? Why did we allow the American people to get so sick on their watch? Why did we allow ourselves to fall so behind, and get bought and paid for by big pharma and big food?
I mean, I guess it's just what we allow with lobbyists and paying off politicians, and they're allowed to donate to their campaigns, and that makes it hard. That is a very sticky ethical situation to be on. You want to win, and you might be telling yourself as, a politician, like, man, I have this policy, and this policy that I want to work on and get done and do. I don't like what I'm going to be having to say yes to with the food stuff, but I would get to do this abortion bill or this. So they're kind of doing a toss up. Meanwhile, American children are suffering. We are majority of 18 to 21-year-old men were having to turn away from the military because they're not well enough to serve. That is a national security crisis. That's terrifying. So that right there should terrify people and wake people up. The infertility rising 1% every single year, that should terrify people. Childhood cancer, type
male
2 diabetes.
testosterone levels are down, so low.
So there are so many things. Now we're at the point they can't ignore it. You guys played that game, and now we're reaping what you sowed.
Havoc.
And it's scary.
And what really fascinates me about this whole thing is why the left has such a problem with this. I'm we're fighting for all your health. We don't care what skin color you are, what religion you are, who you voted for. This is all Americans deserve a better chance of health and life. I don't understand why they have their knickers in such a twist and they're so upset about this. It's just fascinating to me when they speak up and they scream, and I've been called such awful things oh, you're supporting Bobby Kennedy, conspiracy theorists. I'm like, guys, he's helping all our health. It's not just about one side, and they can't take it.
I don't know why they aren't more excited that we were willing to come to the table. I mean, it wasn't Nashville, Tennessee who legalized raw milk first. I mean, LA has had legal raw milk for a very long time in all of their grocery stores. And you weren't seeing people writing articles, mainstream leftist news writing articles like, oh my gosh, LA is putting people's lives in danger by selling raw milk in grocery stores. Meanwhile, Alex Clark talks about raw milk and it should be in every grocery store. And now all of a sudden I have a death wish on American people. The math ain't mathin'. So you have to ask yourself as a voter, is my party truly principled? Did they ever truly believe in any of these things? The way that they just roll over and denounce things that they were fighting for all this time. I mean, that would disturb me greatly if I was a lifelong Democrat. And so I think you just have to get out of your head this Democrat, Republican. You have to start looking at candidates and policy. Forget that Trump is registered Republican. He was willing to take up these issues. And so if health and wellness is the most important issue to you as a voter going forward after, 2028 and beyond, you've got to look at, okay, Democrat or Republican, and I have to do the same. Who is willing to stand for these issues? The majority of these issues that really mean to me. And also talking to candidates about how these issues matter to you on a local level. You should be calling your state representatives and saying, what is your food policy stance? Right. We should be asking them. And then they're like, oh, my voters care that I have a food policy stance? I didn't know I needed to talk about that or whatever. They listen to those things. So we should be doing that and kind of putting on the radar that again, this MAHA stuff is here to stay. So you need to come up with what your stance is on it.
Talking about calling your local offices and asking questions, the health and wellness industry is now worth $4.5 trillion globally. But there's also a lot of brands that are not walking the walk and talking the talk. How do you feel about this big blow up that America's now having? Yes, we're getting more health conscious. Yes, we're talking about health at a grassroots level. But how much of it from these brands that are emerging companies are just trying to, take people's money, and how many people are actually doing the work?
Well, as the consumer, you've got to do your due diligence and not just like any other time before, blindly trusting marketing. So, let's talk about Steak and Shake, for example. Let's talk about my beef with Steak and Shake because this blew my mind. Steak and Shake was campaigning, saying we are seed oil free with our fries. We are exclusively frying in beef tallow. Now, I'm sitting here thinking, that's amazing. This is what I've wanted to hear, of course. But also, I know your fries are frozen. I know that you have multiple franchises, across the United States, tons of locations. If they're coming to you frozen, what are they being cooked in before? Because that's from somebody else. Now, I asked this question on X. I said, what I should have positioned it, to be fair, as a question, but I just kind of said it matter of fact and took the gamble because I just knew in my heart and soul, and I'm a little bit brave in that way that I get myself into trouble sometimes, is that I just say things as fact.
As they are.
But I just kind of knew. My intuition was like, these fries are pre-fried in vegetable oil, and then they're frying them again in beef tallow once they're in Steak and Shake restaurants. So I said this. Steak and Shake had the weirdest response to me. First of all, flipped out and were pissed. And we're just like, oh, here you go again, Alex Clark. Why can't you just be happy for us? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, show us the label of the fries. What are they being fried in when they come to you? Blah, 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 blah. Bobby Parrish ended up doing the work. He went to a Steak and Shake restaurant, Flav City, and he asked the manager at that local Steak and Shake, can you show me the fries? He went back, he looked at them. Sure enough, they were pre-fried in vegetable oil. And then Steak and Shake does exclusively fry in beef tallow, but they're not totally seed oil free fries. Now, the problem with this is not, what was you? It's like, you have to be transparent because number one, food allergies and different issues. Like you have to tell people that they're not totally seed oil free because that's a lie. Because that's dangerous for somebody that's allergic to vegetable oil. But just be honest. We crave authenticity. Gen Z, especially as a consumer group, really loves brands that are authentic and real more than anything. And so if Steak and Shake were to be like, we are on a mission to become 100% seed oil free, we have transitioned our personal fryers to being just beef tallow. They are coming to us pre-cooked, but we, have plans to eventually be cutting our own fries like In-N-Out does in every location or whatever they're doing, like Five Guys, In-N-Out.
Sweet Green, they went completely seed oil free.
They could say that we're going to start cutting our fries in-house and make a way for that to happen. I don't know, but you have to be honest with the consumer. So they weren't honest. I called them out. I ended up being right. Tale as old as time. I feel like I'm never wrong on these things, knock on wood. And so they ended up fessing up, and now it is written on their website that yes, they are pre-cooked in beef in vegetable oil before they're cooked in beef tallow, whatever. So as the consumer, to answer your question, you have to be willing to go and ask the hard questions. Go ask the manager, can I see the box that this food comes in? What oils are you cooking in? Is it 100% beef tallow, or is it beef tallow cut with
something
a
else?
bunch of seed oils? Because a lot of the times too, like Popeyes and all these places, what I'm hearing is that they're cut with other oils. So it's not 100% beef tallow. So you have to be careful, just like you have to always read the ingredients when you're at Whole Foods or whatever. Even if it says organic on the front, you're still looking at the ingredients. We are still looking at the ingredients on all these other restaurants too.
If you're spending hundreds on skincare but ignoring one of the most powerful anti-aging tools out there, you are missing out, my biohackers. I'm talking about red light therapy and Bond Charge's red light face mask. It has completely changed the game for me. Red light therapy isn't just another hype. It penetrates deep into the skin, boosting collagen, reducing inflammation, and easing signs of aging. And the best part, it's cordless, it's lightweight, and totally painless. So I can wear it while I'm getting work done, watching TV, or even making a quick smoothie for myself or taking my dogs for a walk. I've tried a lot of skincare treatments, and let's be honest, some of them are messy, others are time-consuming, or just plain uncomfortable. But this mask makes it so easy, just 10 minutes a day, and I've noticed my skin is brighter, clearer, and even more even-toned. No downtime, no hassle, and because Bond Charge products are HSA, FSA eligible, you can use your health-saving funds to invest in your skin. Trust me, you need this in your skincare routine ASAP. Right now, my listeners get 15% off when you order from bondcharge.com. Just use my exclusive code Biohack-it at checkout. That's bondcharge.com, plus you'll get free shipping and a 12-month warranty. Again, that's Biohack-it. Go grab yours now. Your skin will thank you later.
When you're shopping at the grocery aisle, when people turn around the label, what are some of the things with health brands that they should be looking out for that is like greenwashing?
That's a good question. This is such a food babe question that I never
Natural
get asked.
flavors for me is like...
Yeah, natural flavors.
Gums.
They're throwing in natural flavors in a lot of things, gums. Now, once in a while, I'll make an exception, especially with like a dessert item or whatever. If that's the only bad thing in, I'm like, okay. But really, you should be avoiding that because it's kind of a catch-all ingredient, which I hope Bobby Kennedy changes, is that it could have a bajillion different things under that one name and you don't know what it is. So if you are having a mysterious food allergy and you can't track down what it is, it might be something that's hidden under natural flavors. It's kind of like the word fragrance when it comes to products that we're putting on our body. Fragrance is a catch-all for like thousands of different chemicals that you could be reacting to. So you want to avoid things with fragrance. That being said, I am really cognizant of even some kind of good for you brands like some noodles and things will have monodiglycerides. That's a really dangerous ingredient because that ingredient is hiding trans fats. And we know that trans fats causes heart disease and heart attacks. And even some of these like ice creams now that you're seeing come out, like they don't melt. That's disturbing.
I think somebody did a whole thing about this. Was it Courtney maybe? That went and bought this ice cream, left it on her counter for like 4 days. It didn't melt. She's like, what the hell is this? I think it was Courtney.
Yeah, it's really scary stuff. I mean, again, eat real food that God made you. The things that are coming in boxes and bags, like try to avoid those at all costs, very few and far between. Food items, and I learned this from Courtney, speaking of her, food items that could be an ingredient, a single ingredient. So like asparagus, ground beef, chicken, rice, milk, eggs, like those are ingredient foods. Poly blah blah sorbate or whatever is not an ingredient food. So if you don't find that in your cabinet naturally, I would try to avoid some of those things.
When it comes to your personal care products, what swaps have you made?
I have gotten rid of all artificial fragrance in all of my personal care products. Everything. So deodorant, body wash, shampoos, all of it. I will say, like, because everybody wants to know what I'm not totally clean on, I would say skincare and makeup because I want what works and I'm on camera and you're on camera. So there's some things.
I can't make someone's makeup kit. You know what I mean? Like
if I was off camera, I didn't work, like I was a stay-at-home mom or something like that.
I would not bother.
My makeup routine I think would be a lot different because this wouldn't matter, but sometimes I just need what works. And so then I need, some hardcore stuff. But, and then nails, I do get nails.
Yeah.
Now I switched from acrylic to something called Builder, which is a little better for you than acrylic.
Is it hard gel?
I don't know what the heck it is.
Because I do Russian manicures, by the way. They last like 6 weeks.
Something like that. Yeah, it's like a hard gel thing. I don't know. I don't know nail talk.
I have to look into that. But basically, like I do this thing, which is a non-toxic hard gel. It's coming in from Europe, and it's this Russian manicure place that I go to does it, and it's cleaner than what you get over here.
It's the
and
same
they're
thing.
importing it all in. I have to look into that.
It's called Builder.
Builder, okay.
Yeah.
And how long does it last you?
Oh, the same as an acrylic.
Yeah. Okay.
Like,
so
it doesn't break. I get my nails done every 2 weeks. I get a fill. Same thing.
And then when it comes to, I don't want to plug in any brands here, but I know you can tell people about some brands they should be buying.
Oh, well, sure.
Zebra, I know you love as a deodorant.
I do love Zebra deodorant, and I love Zebra toothpaste is my favorite toothpaste. Like,
I need
even more than, the deodorant is amazing, and that's what I use, but the toothpaste is phenomenal. So I've got my boyfriend on Zebra toothpaste, I'm on Zebra toothpaste, and they have floss as well. So that's the three things they sell, and I love. And they have mint flavor or coconut flavor for the toothpaste. And then I love this gluten-free bread brand called AWG.
I haven't tried it.
I really like. I hope I'm saying that right. But I think all gluten-free bread is disgusting except this brand.
And why sourdough or gluten-free?
It's just gluten-free. It's
no.
regular bread.
Do you prefer? You like this one, or do you think sourdough is better for you?
I've been radicalized now on flour.
Okay.
Now I'm starting to wonder if it's not, because if you're using conventional flour, period, whether you're making sourdough or not,
Correct.
it may not even be still that healthy for you, that you have to be milling your flour to keep like all the nutrients that are supposed to be in wheat that make bread healthy. And so I just interviewed this woman, Sue Becker, on this on Culture Apothecary, and it's like one of my biggest episodes, like right out the gate. Like people like flipped out over this episode. This woman is a wealth of knowledge, and she is like a food biologist or food scientist major and all this, and so she knows her stuff. But she's this 70-year-old woman who started milling her own flour in the early 90s. Her kids, she had 9 children. They only ever went to the doctor.
9 children biologically?
Yes, this woman had 9 children, started milling her own flour in the early 90s, and her children only ever went to the doctor 2 times. And
from this one swap that she made?
She's like, because I'm milling my flour, and we're only using fresh milled flour for all of our baked goods, waffles, pastries, breads, everything. She's like, this bread changed our life. Warts cured, asthma cured. She has Hashimoto's, able to eat this bread. Like, so she's supposed to be, allegedly supposed to be gluten-free as well. So she's like, gluten-free if you're going to be eating conventional flour. If you are milling your own fresh flour, then you're good. And so I'm going to start trying that and see what I think. But That's been like an amazing episode that really blew my mind recently. And then other products, oh my gosh. If you are somebody that wants clean makeup, Adele Natural Cosmetics. It's very important to me to only use 100% organic cotton feminine products. I learned a lot about that.
I mean, that's a huge thing.
If you're, first of all, if it's not organic cotton, you're putting glyphosate up your snatch.
Like, and in your body, like literally
the most absorbent area.
Yeah.
Your vagina is the most absorbent area, like even more than your mouth. So like putting non-organic tampons is a horrible idea. So, and if your cramps are horrible, it might be because you're using conventional tampons and those chemicals are kind of going up into your body and making you cramp harder.
Yeah.
I learned that like a lot of people, I don't think there's any scientific evidence on this, but it's just anecdotal that a lot of people who switch to all natural organic cotton period products do notice a way less severe cramp, situation when they start their period.
But that's also because we have so many chemical toxins in our system, especially women, which is why they're developing more autoimmune disease. Like Hashimoto's is on the rise. Everything's on the rise with women because we're getting extra stuff from our personal care products. Yeah. Now we're not detoxing at all and removing toxins from our body.
And I would say one of the easiest, because people get very overwhelmed of all the things to change. One of my favorite places to tell people to start is the cleaning supplies. The cleaning
100%.
supplies in your home. Now, I love Branch Basics. I do have a code for them, and I love them. But the cleaning, you have to think about it like this. Like you're washing your clothes, those are going on your body and you're absorbing what's on those. You are, all the surfaces of your home that, you're walking on, absorbing through your hands and feet, your pets, your children, putting things in their mouth that are falling on the floor, the stuff that you wash your dishes with, and then you're eating. If your dishwasher detergent is not totally non-toxic, you are eating whatever those toxins are because it's on your plates and dishes and you're consuming it. So, washing your pots and pans, all of these things, that is a huge place to start that will eliminate a massive part of your toxin load.
I think household swaps, like you said, is the first place to start. We literally moved. I did this IGL test that Dr. Christine Profeta, I think you're going to have her on your podcast. Yeah. She ran my numbers. I was so high in microplastics. And yes, microplastics are everywhere. You can't fully get rid of them. But I swapped out every single container in my house. I was I don't want an ounce of plastics. When you open my fridge, even though I don't run my fridge like I told you, but everything is in a glass container. There's no use of plastics in my house when I can avoid it.
Yeah, you got to throw out all the plastic Tupperware, throw out all of your Teflon pans, your nonstick pans. Yeah. People really bent out of shape. Well, what about this brand that says that they're non-toxic nonstick? I don't care. I don't trust it. Not only do I not trust it fully, the other thing is the popular, and I don't know if they're sponsored on your podcast, but popular nonstick, non-toxic brands are, I think, horrific quality. You are paying a massive price for this cookware, and you can't even cook over medium heat. They literally tell you, like, don't cook over medium heat.
I know what you're talking about.
It disintegrates your pans, destroys them. They're all stained and ugly and hideous, and you paid all this money for these beautiful pans. Like, they just don't last. I'm like, stop wasting your money on this. Literally, get cast iron or stainless steel. That's it. Just use that. And then glass bakeware, and then I only use stainless steel baking sheets, for cookies and stuff in the oven, and then Pyrex, glass dishes, etc. So that's what I'm using. And then I only buy Mountain Valley glass bottled water, and my dog only drinks water from glass bottled Mountain Valley water. And Mountain Valley is not a sponsor.
No, I wish they would sponsor us because literally that's what we consume. So one of the things is also, if you're listening, if you're a woman and your iron levels are low, if you cook in cast iron, you can increase your iron intake. So it's really actually healthy to cook in cast iron, which a lot of women are, especially around their cycle. One. Number two, your pet should not be drinking tap water. We have reverse osmosis in the house now, and then we mineralize the water because osmosis takes out the minerals. So you need to remineralize the water in order for you to be fully using it.
Yes, exactly.
What are some of the supplements you're taking every day?
I have been struggling with massive supplement fatigue. I mean, we've all been there where you have like 70, 80 different supplements on your counter and it's overwhelming and you're trying to travel and stuff. And it's like, how do you take all of this with you? And then you get so many going that you don't even know what's working, what isn't working. So I use this company called Jevity. They are like a full biomarker testing company. They come to your house, they send a phlebotomist. Within 5 minutes, they do all of your blood work. And then after the blood work, they have a whole like health team of functional medicine practitioners who will go over all of your blood work and figure out a custom supplement plan. If you need peptides, if you need hormone replacement therapy, whatever it is that you need.
Is it like Function Health almost?
Yes, it's like Function Health, but they do some different things. I just interviewed the founder, so you can go and listen to that interview to see, like, he explains the differences of what Function Health offers versus Gevity, just so people know. I think kind of the main difference is that Function Health, which I love, and I love Dr. Mark Hyman. Function Health, though, they kind of like, they give you all the information, but then you're kind of like on your own.
Yeah.
Gevity, like, so you pay a membership monthly to have this health concierge team, like, at your beck and call, to keep checking in with you, to see how your health is improving, and then work with you to kind of go over your results, see if you're improving. You keep retesting, doing your blood work, all this kind of stuff. And it's like, I don't know, around 130, 140 bucks a month to get all of this. Like, it's an amazing deal for that price. So my custom supplement is low dose naltrexone.
What's that? You threw a wild curveball at me.
Everyone is talking about this.
I need to know about this.
I think this is something that you give people that are like struggling with severe opioid addiction.
Okay.
But you like put people with autoimmune on it at a very, very low dose, and it's supposed to like do really good support. So they have me on that. They have me on DHEA, hypothyroid support, and berberine.
I'm going to tell you something about DHEA.
What?
When you're trying to, you cannot take DHEA, especially around fertility. It's actually really bad for fertility. And I learned this the hard way. So DHEA, if you actually look into the studies of DHEA, the guy who was behind it all, there was a whole like scam. So if you go to a really good fertility doctor, they will tell you DHEA will harm your fertility.
What in the world? Well, see, my estrogen and progesterone have been at 0, so we're trying to like get these things back up.
You should do natural hormone replacement therapy, and there are other things, but DHEA, and you can look into this, and I can actually give you fertility doctors to speak to. And this is another thing. The functional world doesn't know everything. You know, this is a problem with American healthcare, right?
Okay.
The functional doctor is sitting in one corner. The fertility specialist is sitting in another corner. People are not talking to each other. So I was on DHEA, and when I started interviewing 8 to 10 fertility doctors across America, one of the things they all said to me in common, get the hell off DHEA immediately, because the studies are not, like the studies were fudged because there was one guy behind them and he wasn't giving proper data.
Interesting. Okay, I'm going to ask them about that. DIM for hormone support.
Okay, again, you're taking DIM because you have excess estrogen levels. That's why you're taking DIM, because your estrogen is not clearing. Again, when it comes to fertility, you should not be taking DIM. You should take something else like Brock shot.
Oh, geez. Okay, we'll have to ask all these questions now. Vitamin D3K2.
Yeah, of course.
Adrenal support and probiotic.
Okay, and then Body Bio.
And then Body Bio.
Okay, we're going to talk about some of the things I'm going to suggest, and then you chat GPT and you look it up yourself,
Okay,
Alex.
I will. No, I want to ask questions about it.
You should.
Yes.
And you're going to bring on a fertility doctor that's functional and holistic, and you're going to ask that stuff. I actually have a really good person for you.
If you know me, you know I avoid seed oils like the plague. They're everywhere, even in snacks labeled as clean, organic, or healthy. But the truth is, they wreak havoc on your metabolism, your hormones, and make you super inflamed. That's why I'm obsessed with Prima, one of the few products I completely trust. Prima was created to push back against processed artificial foods and bring us back to real, nutritional, ancestral ingredients that actually nourish your body. It's packed with 100% grass-fed beef tallow, grass-fed collagen, and grass-fed whey protein, delivering bioavailable nutrients for muscle recovery, joint health, and overall vitality without any of the junk. No seed oils, no refined sugars, no artificial additives, and the best part is one of the few products that is certified seed oil safe. I always keep Prima stocked in my bag. It's my go-to post-workout, between meetings, or anytime I need an easy, high-quality protein boost. Getting in at least 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight can be really tough, but it's essential for building and maintaining muscle as you age, or going through a fertility journey in your 40s and 30s like I am. And the flavor is delicious. Cacao, mocha, and salted caramel. You really can't go wrong. My favorite flavor is the salted caramel, plus the Prima bars are sweetened with organic raw honey and only contain organic whole food ingredients. So you're fueling your body with real clean nutrition. Because you're part of the Biohack-it community, you get 20% off. Just use code IMAN20 at eatprima.com. Ditch the seed oils, fuel your body right. You will feel the difference, I promise.
Okay, so I want to ask you something. With Alex, what's next for you? What are you most excited about right now in life?
Well, we have a really big, huge conference, women's conference coming up in June.
Amazing.
In Dallas.
Okay.
It's called the Young Women's Leadership Summit. Don't let the name trip you up. It's for all women, not just young women. That's just the name of it, but it's for all ages women.
Okay.
Tons of incredible speakers in the health and wellness space, as well as conservative powerhouses that you know and love, like huge names, like huge. So that is something to look forward to. You can find tickets at ywls2025.com and use code Alex to get 25% off general admission. But it's like Father's Day weekend. So that would be a huge thing. And then I'm just like traveling all over right now for Culture Apothecary and just knocking out episodes.
Killing it.
We kind of did the IVF conversation. I have a doctor, a bioethicist, MD, who specializes in talking about fertility ethics, who's going to do a whole episode with me coming up on all the IVF stuff.
And what about on your personal Alex?
Well,
what are you excited about?
There's a lot of things that could be on the horizon in my romantic life, but we'll just have to wait and see.
And then this leads me to another question. So you've seen the whole like trad wife culture going on right now, right? You're obviously a more conservative American, right?
Yes.
What is life going to look like once you're married and have kids? Is it still going to be Culture Apothecary Alex? What is going to happen?
So my plan is I would like to do this. I mean, the cool thing about being a podcaster is you really do get to kind of make your own schedule. You can make it as chaotic and packed as you want or not. And so my plan is to kind of train up my team that's around me to be able to really make it a well-oiled machine where I can kind of pop in and film and then kind of walk away.
Right.
So I like pop in for like, a couple hours a week and then that's it.
Right.
Like make it very simple. Like I record an interview and then like, when you need me, a couple phone calls a week, couple meetings, that's it. But like for the most part, like 98% of my life is stay-at-home mom. So that would be my plan. So like technically would I still be working? Yes, but I'm able to kind of rework that schedule in ways that a lot of women can't. So what people get bent out of shape about is that I tell people, if you have young children, I think for the most part, for like your stereotypical most average American jobs, I do think women need to not work in those early years because your children need you as much as possible, especially in those first 3 years of life. Like that is unbelievably crucial.
Would you have help? Would you have a nanny? Would you have help at home?
No.
No?
No.
No. So we were talking about this when you were at my house, right? So I
will have a house cleaner.
Yeah.
But
you wouldn't have a nanny?
I'll have an assistant, but I won't do a nanny, I don't think.
So, this is where like, it's always interesting to hear from a friend from a different culture, right? So from where you were at my house and I was talking about this. My house does not function without my housekeeper. Like I live for this woman. She's off today. I'm like, where is my stuff? Where is my life? Because she's trained down to be a machine to run things the way we like it. Now I'm South Asian. We come from a culture that if you don't have help at home, it's poverty. You're poor.
Yeah.
Like why we middle class or otherwise, everybody has help.
Wow.
And we're still hands-on with our kids. Obviously, it varies from degree to degree. I actually think South Asians living abroad are actually more hands-on, but it's almost a sign of poverty.
That's wild. Yeah, no, I just feel
it's almost like I feel like it's reversing. Like South Asians have this, like they have help at home and the women from South Asian women are getting highly educated, going to the workforce, have these brilliant careers. They're doctors, they're lawyers, they aspire for so much and they raise their kids. And I almost feel like America's doing like the reverse. This reversal is going on where the mentality now is becoming like, hey, we want to become stay-at-home moms more. Yeah. And for us, it's like, for me, it's like almost like, and I would definitely cut down my workload. I'm exhausted these days. I don't want to be working the way I am when I have kids, but it's a different cultural shift.
So I interviewed this woman, Erica Comazar, and her specialty is talking about childhood attachment. Mm-hmm. And she kind of taught me about how there's like a tier system with ideal childcare for the first 3 years of life. And how like number one choice for your child's development and attachment, which will carry with them for their entire life, is mom. Then it would be dad. Then it's like immediate family member, like grandma, aunt, somebody that is going to be consistent in their life throughout their entire life. Then it would be a nanny who's in home. And then it would be a shared nanny. So maybe it's your home or someone else's home, but like with one other family. And then very, very, very last is daycare. Okay. Like daycare is the worst place for a child's development. I don't care if you're spending 20, people will be like, you wouldn't even believe how much my daycare costs. It doesn't matter. Daycare, the way that it is run, the type of environment, the teachers that come in and out and cycle in and out, your child cannot properly attach to an adult figure in the way that they need to count on somebody to be there for them. And it is wrecking their attachment style. So daycare was created to be a last resort. And what has happened in American culture is that we have put it up there to be like either or, like, oh, are you staying home or are your kids in daycare? Where daycare should have been absolute last resort. Yes. I'm a widow. I am a single mother. I have no one in my life. I have no family around me. I have nobody to help watch my kids. That is where when you should do daycare. So for me, like learning from her and her book Being There will change your life. a child's attachment in the first 3 years is developed in those little minuscule moments that you think don't matter. Like as long as they're being fed, it doesn't matter who's holding the bottle. It doesn't matter as long as their diaper's changed, as long as their diaper's being changed. Yeah, to a certain extent, but it's those little moments of diaper changing, bottle feeding, whatever, that like they're building attachment style. And so that's why it's super important, if at all possible, to be the mother. And so that's why I'm like, as much as I can, I want it to be me. I don't want to have a night nurse or whatever for me personally.
Yeah.
But then, there's a great argument for people that are like, my mental health is important. I can't be present as a mother if I don't have this. So
Right.
like, I get it. I mean, that could be a whole podcast in and of itself.
I agree with you on a lot of that stuff. So I had lunch with this incredible doula because fingers crossed when I do get pregnant, I want to consider home birthing.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. So I'm going down this like a whole rabbit hole. So I had a 3-hour lunch with this incredible woman, and she did say, a child, when they're developing, their first source of comfort needs to be the mom, because when they come out of the womb, I think for the first like 7-8 months, they don't even know anything. They don't see that they're separate.
Yes.
Right? So they don't have that correlation. I still believe in having help, but you still being hands-on and very present.
Yeah.
But maybe having that support system so you can sleep through a few things, even if the baby sleeps next to you.
Oh, totally.
Just to have the help at home.
What I really like, and I think we need to bring back, is like, especially those first 40 days after birth, is
Correct.
having a postpartum
Thank you.
doula. So like that is the type of
you.
health I would want.
Yes.
Is that like, I want somebody helping
Cooking
like,
for you
make
at home.
meals.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, for especially like getting started those first couple months or whatever. I think that would be amazing if you can do it.
So that was really interesting to me. For me, I changed my mind from being like, oh, maybe the kid would sleep in a nursery. And I told my husband, I was like, no, I think the kid would sleep in our room. Because that's where I want the baby to sleep. But I do want help, obviously, at home because there are two of us. We're both working. But I would adjust my work schedule. But I strongly am of the mindset I definitely need help. I mean, I would just go crazy otherwise. I'd be like, what the hell? Between the 4 dogs and everything else, I'd be like, I can't manage all this.
No, it's a lot. It's a lot to think about.
And I think it's a cultural thing as well, right? We were always raised around help. Like us as South Asian, I was talking to my niece about this on the way. We haven't lived any other way. We have not existed any other way. Like any of us who are middle class or upper middle class and grew up wealthy, that is how we were raised.
Well, and I think in American culture, what used to be the norm is that it was family. You had that village mentality.
Correct.
So like,
but it should be that, by the way.
So before the Industrial Revolution, and like then you had this like the nuclear family was never supposed to happen. It was never supposed to be mom, dad, kids living separate from extended family. So what we ended up doing was we kind of told women, you get
isolated
pregnant,
them.
You're isolated. This is why I think a lot where postpartum depression really explodes is that you are isolated trying to figure out raising this baby on your own. It was never supposed to be that way. You were supposed to have people in and out of your house the entire time, whether that's your aunties, your mother, your grandparents. Yeah, it was supposed to be that support system for a family. But we all took jobs other places, like kind of like in the 50s and stuff. And then we were separated. And so now you have all of these like isolated families, but that wasn't how it was supposed to be. So then we end up hiring help. But you were never supposed to hire help because your help was supposed to be your family just doing that because they love you.
So for us, I grew up with all my aunts and uncles living next door to me when I was in Pakistan before I moved to London. My grandparents were around. My mom was one of 5 siblings. I grew up with all my cousins. So we still had help, but we had all of them. And so for me, when I think about having a family, it's like, my in-laws are going to move in with me because I just love them and they're just wonderful people. I would have that plus the support, just so not putting all the pressure on them so that they're not stuck with everything, right? But I do definitely believe this nuclear family system is destroying the very fiber of society in this country.
Yeah, I mean, originally and I know then people get really bent out of shape when I say this, and I mean, like, it's not going to, I understand this doesn't work for everybody. I don't even know that it would ever work for me, but like, if you can do a multi-generational living situation, that is really what's best for kids. Like, you're supposed to have a full dinner table with multiple generations, like, that are able to talk to your kids, and you learn where you come from, and you have all this help, and like, that's really a beautiful picture of what a family is ideally supposed to look like.
And that's how I grew up. I didn't like the food in my house. I'd walk over, literally next door, we shared our gardens, right? So I'd be like, I don't want to eat here. I'm going to go to my aunt's house. Then I used to go to their house. I'd be like, what do you have in your fridge? Because I don't want to eat my food in my house. So I grew up like that. And then I felt like since I moved to the US, I've been here for about 12 years, I feel isolated. Like, this was the first year ever since I've been here that I went to my in-laws because they were in town, to my sister-in-laws in New York to spend Eid, which was our version of Christmas. And I was like, holy shit, I haven't done this in 12 years because I have nobody to celebrate it with down here. We have incredible friends, but they're not from the same culture. So there is that disconnect happening. And it's like, where do us South Asians or Muslims and stuff find our community within where we live?
Yeah.
Right? And so that is like a big question for me right now personally, is like, how do I build that? And what is that going to look like for me and for my family? One more thing I want to end with, which I'd given you a shocker last time we recorded. So what's your stance on birthright? I mean, I already blew the lid on that surprise. When I told you I was a birthright baby, your face was like, what the fuck?
No, I just was surprised.
Why were you surprised?
I just didn't know.
Yeah.
So it was just, in the moment, like you just sprung that on me. I don't agree with it. Like that's unfortunately when you as a parent are making the choice to come over illegally, have a child, whatever, have a family, there are consequences to those actions. So no, I don't support birthright.
So it's funny, I am a birthright kid, and I told you my stance, and I'm going to share it over here for everybody. So I'm a birthright child, like I just said. A lot of my family is actually American, like second generation, all that stuff. My mom obviously didn't look like that. She was really wealthy. She came over, she had me. Now, I believe that there's so many of us, especially South Asians, Arabs, all that stuff, that have American passports. We should be paying taxes if you're not. I mean, I live here, I pay taxes, I belong to the system here. But so many people, I think it's a privilege to have an American passport. I don't think it's a right, it's a privilege. And therefore, if you live overseas and you are like a birthright kid and you're just exiting the country with this American passport that gives you so many rights globally, you should be paying taxes on it.
Oh,
I know this might sound really controversial to people. They must be like, what the hell is she saying? But that's what I believe. I was like, you shouldn't be just entitled to an American passport. No other country in the world allows you to just waltz in, have a child, and just waltz right out.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. So I do think there's that piece to it. And so I have this viewpoint that if you have an American passport, even if you live abroad, pay taxes on it. It's not,
well, it's interesting you bring that up
privileged.
because we just saw there was a mother with a mother of like a 2-year-old daughter or something who was very upset about the migrant crisis in the UK. Did you see this? She posted on X just her thoughts. She was like, "This is out of control. Like this is like crime is crazy." Like she was like really like severe with her words, and she's in prison now for a couple years.
You can't. There's no free speech.
There's no free speech. So, to your point of like, if you have an American passport, but you want to go over there and live, like if you want to spout off on X, I think you'll be protected. Where like that woman wasn't.
No, but I do think like the world is going through a really big shift. I don't really want to get into the whole like free speech things. I'm a little concerned about our free speech in this country right now. I don't know where it's going to fully go. And I have this whole opinion that I'll give you kind of off camera about this. I don't think it's a time or a place for me to fully like burst out into what I think, but it's a privilege here and it's our First Amendment. But I don't know if it's going to start getting controlled when people speak out about things that are anti-government in some way. I don't know.
Spicy. I get the Iman after the show.
Yeah. So I see a massive shift happening that I feel like there are foreign powers influencing this country so much that if you speak up against it, it's feeding into American policy and it's feeding into American culture, and you could get booted out even if. So I think there's a lot of disentanglement that has to go on. So let's see how much of our free speech actually stays intact. And I know JD Vance came out and said it. He's like, yeah, if you're American, you're an American citizen, free speech to you. But if you're a green card holder, you don't have the same rights as an American citizen. But I am worried, is that ever going to change?
Well, I certainly hope not. And I think we have to keep voting for the people
who
can
support
protect
that.
Yeah, that's very scary.
But I love you. Thank you for coming back and doing this with me again.
Thank you, Iman.
I appreciate our friendship. I just love the fact that you and I can differ on things, but we can still talk, respect, and debate over it.
Yes.
And I admire you so much as a human being.
Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. And I love, Iman is your girl. If you were like, I need jewelry advice, fashion advice, like tell me all the best skincare, like whatever, like Iman knows. And any city like in the world, like I'm going here, where should I go? Like she would tell you. So she's like that friend,
But I love you. Thank you for doing this. I'm excited you're in Miami, and I'll show you Miami tonight.
Thanks.
Thank you for tuning into Biohack-it. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a short review. It really helps us reach more listeners just like you. Follow us on Instagram at biohack-it for exclusive content and the latest updates. Remember, your health is in your hand and curiosity heals.